Hello friends, this is going to be a brief introduction to ftleader. You should check out the README on GitHub for more information, and there's also included in GitHub a simple configuration, which I'm actually running here, that you can use to play around if you don't want to mess up your existing emacs configuration or you just want to see what's going on. So all you need to do in order to require and configure ftleader is, of course, have it on your load path and require it. There's some configuration options, and I'll tell you about these in just a moment. In order to enable ftleader, we just call ftleader mode, which enables the mode globally. Without this, if you call this leader mode exec, it will do nothing. But once you've called ftleader mode, then the exec will actually execute. We've also set up the special maps. So there's a configuration option here called ftleader special map. And the reason that these are special is because they're accessible at the top level of the leader system. So we've configured F to be a special map, and we've set it up and bound it. So now if we enter Control Z, which is the command that we've bound for executing ftleader, so I'll enter Control Z, you can see which key pops up, and it's showing us F will take us to Control C F map. Okay. And it's also showing us a control on the bottom left. So if we press F, now we've entered Control C F, but we've actually only pressed the leader key and then F. And we have access to the commands that we bound into this map using the ftleader define key function here. So we can press F to go into find file, and that works exactly as expected. So I'll just Control G out of that. And you might be wondering why it's entering a control. Well, the default is when you launch the leader system or you enter a nested map, it acts as if control is already held and shows you the keys that are relevant to that. In order to access things on maps that do not have a control modifier or have a different modifier like meta, you can use space to remove the modifier or use or configure other keys. This meta one isn't default, but I'll show you how it works. So if I go Control Z and then I press M, you can see the control at the bottom changes to an M. And then these are all the things that you can execute normally with meta something like meta X, execute extended command. So if I press X, you can see we just get meta X. So I'll just Control G out of that, and I'll just show you again if we go into the nested map. Sorry, Control Z, not Shift Z, like I just entered. If we go into the F nested map, you can see again Control C F C. But if we had some command bound to meta something here, we could just press M, and you can see it changes to Control C F meta. But which key is telling us? There's nothing. There's nothing you can do. So I'll just enter a space, and ftleader is going to be like, there's no binding. Okay, well that's fine. That's fine. I'll just delete that Z that I put in a moment ago. Okay, so that's the nested maps. That's the mods. And of course, this is extensible as well. You probably also want to maybe make super accessible here or control meta. It's up to you. We also have some special commands bound. So the special maps works in a certain way in order to allow these maps to be set up and bound with these functions. But if you have maps that you already use or you have commands that you want to enable at the top level, you can add them to ftleader special command. And for example, I've put move end of line here. So if I go somewhere that's not the end of the line and I enter Control Z, you can see O in which key is showing us O is move end of line. But Control O is not normally move end of line, but it is in our case. And you can see ftleader entered a Control C O. And that's the special function of the special commands and special maps. They're bound to Control C, some character, but they're accessible at the very top level of the ftleader system. So we've been able to execute it. We've shown the special commands and the special maps and the mods. Of course, you saw the which key integration. For the which key integration, you just have to have which key and then set this ftleader which key variable to true, or anything non-nil, that is. One other thing you might want to know about is universal arguments. So in order to enter universal arguments, you can just enter the leader system, and you can see U shows us that it is the universal argument. So if I enter a U, I've got a control U, and if I enter control Z again, except you see I entered 4 Zs because I don't know where control and shift are. Let me try that again. Control Z, U, control Z, U, and you can see we're stacking up control Zs, sorry, control U's on the bottom there. And now if I enter Z, I'm going to get a whole bunch of them. Okay, so we just, we'll remove that line. Okay, what else should I show you? Oh, and of course you can do, if you do control Z, U, and then you enter some integer, and then enter some command, again, similar. Perfect. So that's how universal arguments work, and they work just fine. Which key? Yeah, I think that's probably everything you need to know to get started. Make sure you check out the README. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to leave comments on this YouTube video or open issues/pull requests on the repos. Thanks for checking it out. All right, thanks.